My brother, hold on. News just broke that's turning the football world upside down, and you're about to hear it all now, straight from the source. The atmosphere behind the scenes is boiling, and I'm telling you all about it exclusively. What began as an off-season promise for the Raiders' defense has now turned into a moment of high alert. The news that dropped like a bombshell in training camp was this. Christian Wilkins, the team's top defensive investment for 2024, is officially on the PUP list, physically unable to perform. While the management tries to maintain a positive tone, the facts are clear. Wilkins is out for a limited time, and the coaching staff is already preparing for a possible extended absence for their new defensive pillar, and that changes everything. Wilkins was signed precisely to fill one of the team's biggest holes, the lack of a dominant presence on the interior defensive line. Without him, the Raiders must rely on young, untested names in the NFL, like rookies Tonka Hemingway and J.J. Peggs, both selected on the third day of the draft. While talented, the two remain a bit of an unknown quantity when it comes to facing experimental lines and elite quarterbacks. Fortunately, the explosive duo of Max Crosby and Malcolm Kuntz will still be present on the wings, ready to wreak havoc on the opposing backfield. But without pressure from the middle, the gaps in the defensive system multiply. And as any good defensive coordinator knows, when the opposing quarterback has room to move up the pocket, the game changes completely. Wilkins' absence threatens to open just that hole, but that's where the possibility of setting the league on fire and making the eyes of every Raiders fan shine. LAFB network journalist Ian Van Roy has brought to light a bold proposal that could completely redefine the Raiders' defensive landscape, a trade for Trey Hendrickson from the Cincinnati Bengals. Yes, we're talking about one of the NFL's most productive pass rushers over the past 2 seasons. With no fewer than 17.5 sacks in each of the last 2 years, Hendrickson has surpassed even TJ Watt, who, it's worth noting, recently signed a $123 million extension. And you know what makes this even more interesting? Hendrickson's current situation in Cincinnati is anything but peaceful. The player is unhappy with his contract, and the atmosphere within the franchise has become tense. For the Raiders, this represents a golden opportunity. With salary cap flexibility, a thirst for victories, and a front office willing to take risks, Las Vegas could pounce at just the right moment, when the trade price is most affordable and their rivals are most vulnerable. Of course, adding Hendrickson alongside Max Crosby and, in the future, Christian Wilkins will require a significant financial investment. We're talking about a defensive line with 3 big names taking up a significant portion of the cap. But honestly, what if it works? What if it dares to transform the Raiders into the most feared defense in the NFL? In a league where pressure is everything, this could be a move that changes the fate of an entire franchise. And it doesn't stop there. This potential addition would elevate the Raiders to a new level of competitiveness. Imagine an opposing offense with constant pressure on the wings with Crosby and Hendrickson, while the center of the line is shut down by Wilkins. It would be suffocating. It would be relentless. It would be the identity Las Vegas fans so desperately want to see. A defense that dominates, commands respect, and decides games. But as good as this vision for the future is, it all still depends on decisions being discussed now, behind the scenes. And while management analyzes the next steps, there's another key piece falling into place for the Raiders, just off the field. Because talent is useless without leadership. Strength is useless without vision. And the new locker room leader has arrived, chewing gum, full of energy, and ready to cause a veritable earthquake in Las Vegas. If you thought the Raiders were just restructuring for 2024, think again. They're redefining themselves, and no one represents that more than the arrival of legendary coach Pete Carroll. Yes, the same Pete Carroll who turned USC into a college football dynasty. The same coach who built the Legion of Boom in Seattle. And the same man who, like it or not, managed one of the most controversial plays in Super Bowl history. Carroll is in Las Vegas now, and he's not here to see the sights. He's here to win. First and foremost, expect a run-first mentality to dominate their offensive scheme. Great news for freshman running back Ashton Jeanty, a relentless player coming out of Boise State. Jeanty is a nightmare to collapse. Strong, quick, and poised in contact. Think Marshawn Lynch 2.0 in silver and black. With Carroll's approach, Jeanty becomes a central piece, especially on third down and short yardage. Fans should prepare for devastating runs, late-game clock control, and a ground attack that opens up deep throws for the passing game. But Carroll isn't just about offense. Defensively, he brings a Vic Fangio-inspired scheme. Aggressive, creative, and built to start. With Max Crosby already playing at an all-pro level, this 3-4 setup gives the Raiders the chance to maximize every snap, every blitz, and every mismatch. Of course, no coach is perfect. Raiders fans haven't forgotten Carroll's Super Bowl mistake, and his penchant for playing cute on short yardage plays could be a problem in the crowded AFC West. With Mahomes, Herbert, and rising rookie Bo Nix in the division, Carroll will need to be dramatically improved. But this isn't the same old AFC West. The Chiefs have lost key linemen. The Chargers appear to be without any buzz. The Broncos are relying on injured defenders. In short, short, a window is open. Still, to make the most of this opportunity, the Raiders need one more piece. A wise voice, a warrior in the backfield, someone who's already reached the top and still has something to offer. When it comes to building an elite defense, every gear needs to fit perfectly. Young talent, energy, aggressiveness, all of these are essential. But there's something only time can provide: high-level experience. And that's exactly what Stefon Gilmore brings to the table. Now, on the eve of the season, he emerges as a potential icing on the cake for a Raiders team that could be one piece away from becoming a true force in the AFC. At 34, Gilmore has seen and conquered it all. Super Bowls, 5 Pro Bowls, 2 All-Pro selections, and a Defensive Player of the Year award. And even with more than a decade behind him, he continues to produce. In his final season, defending the Minnesota Vikings, Gilmore showed he still has the energy. 40 solo tackles, 9 passes defended, and a vital interception in a key game. More important than the numbers? The consistency and intelligence he displays on every snap. League analysts have started paying attention, and it was USA Today's Nick Brinkerhoff who made a spot-on observation. The 2 most logical destinations for Gilmore are the Dolphins and the Raiders. And if we look at the background, it's clear why. In Miami, the recent trade of Jalen Ramsey to the Steelers left a huge hole in the secondary. The Dolphins front office hasn't yet come up with any impactful solutions. They just added a cornerback in the 5th round of the draft and revised Artie Burns. Neither of these names offers the pedigree, security, or locker room presence that Gilmore brings. And that's precisely why Las Vegas appears to be the most promising destination. The Raiders have revamped their secondary from scratch. The only remaining name among the starters is Jacorian Bennett. Young, promising, but still maturing. Alongside him are newly arrived 3rd-round rookie Darian Porter and former Green Bay Packers wide receiver Eric Stokes, who, while talented, has yet to play more than 45 NFL games. In other words, raw talent exists, but there's a lack of role models. There's a lack of experienced voices who know what to do when the game is in its final stretch, and everything depends on a decisive play. That's where Gilmore comes in, not just as a starting cornerback, but as a mentor, guide, and psychological shield for this unit. He knows the shortcuts. He's guarded the league's top wide receivers, and he knows how to stay calm when the entire stadium seems to collapse around him. More than technique or physique, what Stefon Gilmore offers is victory, and that's worth its weight in gold for a franchise in transition, but thirsty for prominence. He's the kind of player who can transform a solid defense into a decisive one. And the most interesting thing? Money doesn't seem to be the main motivator. Gilmore has already accumulated over $116 million in career earnings, according to Spotrac. He's already attracted the Vince Lombardi Trophy. What he's seeking now is significant. It's a final act of greatness, and Las Vegas, with its mix of hungry youth and renewed structure, offers the perfect stage for it. If the Raiders truly want to make a splash in the 2024-25 season, this could be the missing piece. Not just a reinforcement, but a symbol that the franchise is thinking big. Of course, there are risks. Gilmore is no longer the athlete he was at 25, and his best days may be behind him, but he's still better than most starting cornerbacks in the league. And if used strategically, he can be an anchor that stabilizes an entire defense. With a promising defensive line, speedy linebackers, and now the chance to have a leader in the secondary, the Raiders are assembling a complete unit. Add to that the defensive mindset of new head coach Pete Carroll, and we have a formula capable of turning the tables in the AFC. The season hasn't started yet, but training camp is already in full swing. Decisions need to be made, and the time is now. Stefon Gilmore is still available. The Raiders have room, and Raider Nation is watching every move. With Hendrickson's possible arrival, Pete Carroll's coaching, and the interest in Gilmore, could the Raiders be building an elite defense to change the course of the season? Leave your opinion here. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. I'll be back later to update you with the latest Raiders news.